Looking to make some healthier habits this holiday season? Make sure to check out our Moving Through Midlife community over on Facebook, as we are doing a Planksgiving event where we are doing daily plank workouts. We will be doing an advent for healthy, happy hips this holiday season, and then also have a sugar challenge, a 2-week sugar challenge that you might be interested in. Happy holidays!
Welcome to Raising Healthy Humans, where you as a busy mom can come each week to find information on health and wellness for your family. Enjoy experts discussing tips to help raise children through each phase of life, gather current information on nutrition and wellness, and listen to Courtney, a personal trainer, health coach, movement specialist, and founder of FormFit, a community where she helps busy moms move more. Here, she provides you with movement and posture tips while sharing information you need to help raise healthy humans.
Today, I am speaking with Clarissa about what it is like to receive a life-altering diagnosis. She was diagnosed with relapsing-remitting multiple sclerosis when she was 19 years old. She has since become a yoga instructor, a mother, a doula, and recently started her own company and community, the MS Mamas. She speaks into how to persevere through a diagnosis today, talks us through some seated yoga exercises, and talks about her flourishing community for moms with MS. I hope you enjoy it.
So my name is Clarissa, and I am soon to be 31 years old. In June, it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's just me getting older. It's like, but I'm going to be 31 in June, and I am the mama of two beautiful girls now, but I've had my, share of ups and downs, and I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 19 years old, way before I was a mama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore in college, doing a whole lot, handling a lot, but not really ready to handle MS at 19 years old, definitely.
How did you notice that it was coming about? Like, what were the signs? Did you have any specific signs or symptoms that you were dealing with?
So when I think back on my MS, a lot of people actually, when you ask them about MS, they'll be like, "Oh, well, there was this thing when I was 10." And I can honestly say that around the freshman year of college, so not until I was about 18, I started to feel like things were a little off and like I was a little dizzy and like some things just weren't clicking and stuff. So I remember going to my doctor and I remember her diagnosing me with vertigo. You know what
Mm.
vertigo is?
Uh-huh.
And I remember her being like, "There's this grain of salt." So it's like, okay. I mean, what else was I going to think at that time? So I went ahead and I did the exercises that she asked me to do. They didn't really help, but then my symptoms kind of kept going. So that summer I went to the beach, major leg drop, major
Mm.
just dragging of my left limb because as we know, the heat can really exacerbate MS. It can make a lot go on. And I guess I just hadn't at all put two and two together that there was even something going on. I mean, think about it. When you're walking in the sand, isn't it a little head hard anyways? I guess that's why people run in the sand, huh? Like on the beach, because it's harder. It,
Yeah.
it legitimately is. So I didn't really think much of it. But I did notice that summer, before my sophomore year of college, dragging my leg on the beach, like to the point where I could not even get far. I'd have to rest. It was exhausting. And so I remember going into my sophomore year of college. I was still this crazy student who knew why, who was doing 16 units of work, a semester, and taking, all those classes, working, 8 to 16 hours a week sometimes still. And it was a lot. It was, as I knew now, of course, and I talk about all the time, stress, number one exacerbator.
Yes, yes.
And that's not just MS, that's like everything. Stress exacerbates everything. And so slowly during the fall, my symptoms started to kind of get a little more severe. And I started to notice that I would kind of fall because the leg drop was getting really, really bad. And I noticed that I was starting to have speech slur issues. And I noticed that some of my functions were almost seeming to slow down a little bit. So I noticed these little things, but as a college student doing all those things, you don't really think about it. I mean, you have lots of schoolwork, lots of partying, lots of, extracurriculars, all of this stuff to do, that MS is the last thing from your mind. So I kept going, and finals came around, and Christmas came around, and I went home for Christmas, and I saw my, all of my family. My mother was like, "What's wrong with your leg?" I'm the oldest of 9, in a Mexican household on my mother's side, at least. So she's like, "What's wrong with your leg?" She's very blunt. Like, "Oh, nothing, I just have a little weakness or whatever." I don't even know what I said. And she's like, "No, that's not right." And I would fall. And she's, like, everyone's concerned about me at that point. And so I'm falling multiple times, and it's Christmas Eve. It's Christmas Eve, and all my family's around. I'm falling everywhere. And my mom's like, "That's it. You have to go to the emergency room." And if you know anything about the emergency room on Christmas Eve, it's not a fun place to be. So I didn't want to do it, but she wasn't going to let me stay there. She probably wasn't going to let me open my presents or something. So I went, and being the oldest of 9, I went with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. And we sat there for what seemed like a really long time, at least an hour probably, until we even got, seen the first intake. And they noticed little things like your eyes not tracking, like you're a little slow on this side. Like they said, we're pretty sure, because they took me back, they did a brain scan because it was kind of normal for the symptoms I was experiencing, the cognitive issues and things. So they did the brain scan, and they said, there are lesions. And it was like, what? They're like, there are lesions, and we are 99.9% sure you have MS. And I still remember telling my grandmother on the phone what I was experiencing already. And she was like, "Well, that sounds like MS." I'm like, "What the hell is that?" And she's like, "Well, you need to talk to them because I think you have MS." And I had never heard those 2 words, those 2 letters put together in my life.
Right.
And so when they were saying it again, I was like, "What the heck is this?" And it was going so fast, and I was so young, and I was scared, and I just let them because I didn't know what else to do. And of course you want to figure out what's going on. I mean, I was going to a research university at that time. So it's like, well, of course I want to know what's going on. So they did the brain scan. It came back with lesions, and they were pretty sure. And they said, "We're going to do a spinal tap tonight to confirm your diagnosis of multiple sclerosis." And all of this is like, what are these things? What are they doing to me? But when they explained the procedure, it was like, oh, wow. I'm in a hospital. It's December. I'm freezing because I'm pretty small. And honestly, they just took that and they were like, we're gonna have to do this. We have to. And so I laid on the table and my spouse was holding my hand and I was shaking and it was really hard. And they were like, you have to stop shaking. And I couldn't. It was freezing. So the male nurse sat on top of me and it was all a very big blur. And when I look back on it, I'm very thankful for having those things happen in one night, because that's very rare.
Yeah.
There are people that go years without a diagnosis. And sometimes people still never get a super conclusive, result, because maybe the area they live in, maybe the doctors that they work with, whatever it is. I felt grateful because I knew I had to be, but it was so overwhelming. And so I just went home and I lost it. I just went into full-on depression. I mean, I did all those things that a regular person diagnosed with anything does. So when we talk about that, we talk about how when you get diagnosed with anything, when you go through a major life incident, you go through grieving in a way. And so I felt myself going through the 7 stages of grieving, and I felt myself staying stuck in certain areas because it felt whatever, right at the time. And so I let myself, and I was in grad school at this time, even though it really was not super, important to me by that time. I had just went through the motions. I had chose to ignore everything. I had kept going with school because for whatever that was what kept me going.
Right.
And so in the end, I'm not going to say it was easy, after years, after finding yoga, after doing the work, honestly. And that is so hard for some people to hear for whatever reason. Most people want to hear a success story from A to Z. And what I mean is A to Z, like just a jump. But that's not how it goes. It's A, B, C, D, E, and there are all these little steps that lead to this end product that you end up seeing, which is me now. You know how you see it, whatever, even though I'm always a work in progress. It took going through the therapy. It took going through the yoga practice and falling over and having to be turned down some places and being told, no, that's not an option for you. It took all of those kind of things, but it really turned me into the kind of person that I am now, going through those hardships, going through multiple sclerosis, because if I didn't have those struggles, how would I be able to tell you these stories?
Right.
How would I be able to resonate with so many other people who are in this exact moment right now?
Yeah. So go ahead.
ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. Sorry.
So you ended up where you are today is you are teaching yoga, correct? So you're yoga certified?
So I am now a registered yoga teacher. I have been since 2017, and it was by chance. I found someone in the waiting room at UCSF who happened to do yoga and who happened to have MS and live in the same exact town as me. In little old Turlock, they live, coming to UCSF for an appointment. He turned me on to yoga in a way that I will never look back on. And from that, I was given a gift. I was given the gift of opportunity. And I took that, and it was really, really hard. And I struggled with that, but it built me and I began to love it. And then, yes, I got certified to teach in 2017. I think I'm going on 5 years now. And I love it. I work for Dignity Health. I teach prenatal and accessible yoga for them. And of course, I also have my own yoga. I have my own programs, and I have my own groups going on with multiple sclerosis mamas, which I have created. And yes, to help me deal with my illness, because we always need that, right?
Mhm.
But to help all the other mamas that wish they would have had those thoughts and those words and those everything, the exercises and the mental health when they were going through those times, right?
Right. Yeah. And I would even say, like with multiple sclerosis, after you found yoga, did it help to, I just went on a different track, but I want to
No,
ask this anyway.
you're completely right.
Did it
It
help?
sent it completely into remission. I have been in remission with my multiple sclerosis for over 5 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
To mean that I don't have major walking issues. I don't have too many issues. Of course, you have the fatigue, the brain fog, but we're human,
Right. Right.
But I don't have the major speech slur, all of those kind of issues. But we know with multiple sclerosis, because it is an in and out disease, I can change tomorrow and be the exact same way. But yoga gave me the gift of being able to heal my body in a sense of I don't wake up feeling like crap every day.
Yeah.
In a sense of I appreciate and I am grateful, and I know that that has a lot to do with my practice as well.
Right. Well, and I'm sure you have learned how to control some of the stress in your life as well through yoga. So whether it being someone who has been diagnosed with something,
Yes.
or just being a new mom, the stressors that you're dealing with in life can can create a huge impact on your health.
Mhm.
So what are what is your practice like? I know you teach, so is there a different practice, or when you're working like for yourself, do you practice meditation? Is it yoga?
So when I'm teaching for Dignity Health, I also do, I'm not going to lie, I force my clients to do a little bit of meditation. They don't like it.
I know.
They don't like it. A lot of my clients are older. A lot of them have never done the kind of yoga that I teach, which is breath incorporated with stretching and all of that kind of stuff, the synchronicity. So a lot of them have never done it that way before. But I do incorporate it all. And my kids know, because I don't just, I also work with, small organizations, women, infants, and children. I also work with that kind of stuff. And I shoot videos with my daughter doing yoga. And sometimes she's like, but I do it when I can, because it's important for me to instill the breath.
Mhm.
It's important for me to instill the fact that this is what you can come to when you're having a bad day, or when you just don't want to talk to me, whatever it is. They're very important practices, I think, that I really try to instill in my children young. But when we talk about my own practice, I do, and it's been a while. And really I'm like, why? Now that I think about it. But it's been a while that I just hole up by myself, and I just do, not even an hour practice, 20 minutes, 30 minutes by myself, you know? And I think depending on the mood, the flow of the day, how I wake up feeling,
Mhm.
that's how my yoga this is going to go. And I definitely always let my feelings and I let my my body control my practice, because we're not the same every day. And if multiple sclerosis has taught me anything, it's you are entirely different today and you will entirely be different tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
The way.
Yeah. And I think, and that's for all of us, like just with our hormones, with all of the things that happen in life with children, like you just have to really take it day by day and listen to your body. Yeah.
It's the thing, right? That's why, I'm not going to say that's why I entirely do what I do, but that is why sometimes I get up in the morning, is that there are moms out there who are dealing with multiple sclerosis. And there are moms out there that are doing a lot of other things and still maintaining a household and maybe still pregnant and maybe all of these other things. And so I really said to myself, what would I have wished I would have had during quarantine, during the beginning stages of my pregnancy, during the lonely parts, or, you know, the parts where I just didn't feel understood. And I said, well, I would have loved a community of women to go to and to support me and to understand pretty much exactly what I'm going through, because they're going through it too. You know, it's a pretty, how do I say, it's not even rare. Like, you almost, and I got this from my family. It's a bias. It's a, like, how do you say, like, it's a discrimination in that you have multiple sclerosis, you should not be having children.
Oh.
Some, you know, I have faced that from my own family. I have faced that from friends, whatever it is. When actually, we know that multiple sclerosis benefits from pregnancy. In that my MS and many of my women's MS goes into remission when I get pregnant. So the baby works in my favor, and the breastfeeding works in my favor for those times. And we want to say, oh, but what about this? You only have a 4% chance of actually passing multiple sclerosis onto your children.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty low if you think about odds. It happens. I do know some mom daughters, but it's kind of like you're gonna not have children because they might get diabetes one day. I mean, the thing is, we're entitled to absolutely everything. And that's, if I let my mamas know one thing, it is that it is, you deserve the full, the whole and complete life that that you had before this too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I find it interesting that prior to diagnosis, and even once you were diagnosed, you continued to just, I'm assuming you continued to push along, because you said you went and got a master's as well, correct? Or you were in the master's program?
So I went halfway, and then I was like, I'm going to be a yoga instructor. Can you imagine my grandmother's face when, first of all, I was going for my MSW, which is my master's in social work too. So to California farmers, that's kind of like, what? So I was already kind of, you know, an outlier. But then I said I was going to quit it and start teaching yoga. And they were like, they didn't know what to say. Yeah. And it's beautiful now, because now I feel like my grandmother actually brags on me and brags to her friends, and that my daughter works for a hospital, you know, even though I'm kind of thinking about leaving for my program and stuff, you know, all the stuff I have going on.
Right.
She actually brags on me, and she asks me for tips, and she does all these other things. And it's interesting the way, not even a certification, because I always had the certification, But it's interesting the way notoriety
Mm-hmm.
can make you be looked at differently,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's even notoriety of an organization that you work for, whatever it is.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting how um we tend to rush through everything. We are constantly go, go, go. And it took, and I don't want to speak for you, but I feel this is kind of where you mentioned it took slowing down to be able to heal, to be able to bring it into remission. I don't want to say heal, but to be able to help support your body through it. And I feel like we as a society have gotten so fast with everything. We do not stop at all. And I think it's doing a complete disservice to us and our health because we don't take time to listen anymore. And I feel like for you, taking that time, once you started yoga, you were able to then take time to, even if it was emotionally heal from the diagnosis.
And it's funny because I was still in my master's program.
Yeah.
I was in and out of my master's program for a good 4 to 5 years with no degree, by the way, because I was like, this is for me. This is, I'm $20,000 in debt. I kept saying those kind of things to myself. I kept, and I just did a live on this in my group last night. I kept not allowing myself to slow down, like you said, to benefit from MS, because there are benefits, by the way.
Yeah.
And to realize what was super important for me. So let me tell you what the pause button was. It wasn't even MS because I kept going. And I kept going. And like you said, I kept, what I did? I just went and I volunteered on the side for the Multiple Sclerosis Society. I just did like more. It was I senior class president, yearbook editor. I was like, I'm never gonna, I'm not gonna let this stop. But when MS came, it was about me and it was about my body and stuff. And then a couple years later, I was in grad school. Actually, I was just about to take a break from grad school, I think. And I took a test outside of grad school. And lo and behold, that test was positive. And so I was 3 months pregnant as of July 2015. And so I was like, holy crap. I didn't even know if I wanted kids. Like I told you, I was the oldest of 9. I had been child rearing. My youngest sister at that time had just been born, I think.
Oh, wow.
So that's how close. Yeah, that's how close all of that is. So it was definitely a whammy, and it was definitely like, wow, now we really got to step back. And it just completely changed everything. Kids completely change everything. And if they didn't for you, that's awesome.
Right.
Because that means you got a better head on your shoulders than mine. Because she took over my world, and I loved it. I loved being pregnant. I loved being in remission, not dealing with any sort of issues or symptoms with my multiple sclerosis. I loved eating. I loved doing all of those things. And when she was born, she was just perfect. It was really weird. She looked like she was 3 months old already. And she just came out of the womb, just fully intact, everything, no peeling skin. She was beautiful. And so I was like, this is it. This is definitely it. And my program had promised me, they were like, oh, well, you can take a year-long leave. That's what they required. That's why I was in and out so much.
Okay.
They were like, you can take your leave and you can come back. And so I was like, okay. And so they asked me if I wanted to come back after a year, and I was like, no, I don't. And because I was still, doing all the stuff. And my husband had just graduated the MSW program and was doing all of his work stuff and getting started. So I took another year off. And after that year, I decided I don't want to go back. And it was a big decision. And it felt like I was giving up. But it didn't, in the same sense, in that I was gaining so much more. I was like, I'm never going to get this time again. And I just remembered my life and, my stuff. And I was like, I need to be fully present. And so that's what I did. And so when it was time to go back to grad school after 2 years, I just didn't. And then the year after that, the year after she was born, I decided I'm going to go be a registered yoga teacher. And so that's what I did. I did a year-long program. I became a registered yoga teacher, and I just didn't look back. I started working for small studios. Of course, you get your rep in at first.
Right.
But once I was contracted by Dignity after a year or two, it felt very stable. It felt very right. And so I was like, this is definitely for me. And I believe in seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in seasons of life. I believe that child rearing is a season. I believe that business and money making is a season. I believe that caring for, the next generation, or caring for your elders, I believe that's another season. And I believe all of them can be intermeshed in a way, when doing it right. So that's where I'm kind of at right now. I am just here. I am, like I said, loving the changes and the different seasons of my life. And I couldn't really ask for much more right now.
Yeah, that's great. You mentioned you do prenatal yoga as well. Is there any exercises like stretches that you usually recommend for during pregnancy for women to work to kind of help get ready for delivery?
Oh, yeah. You know what? There are always great stretches that you can look up on YouTube, you can look up on Google, and they will come up, and the benefits will come up with them too. That's what I love about Google. It'll give you everything, and YouTube will then put it all in a video together for you.
Yeah.
So I think it's super beneficial to do yoga, first of all, throughout pregnancy. My first birth, I did yoga. Even before I was certified, I did yoga pretty much the entire time. I would do at least once a week of prenatal yoga. And it's an experience. And let me tell you why prenatal yoga is an experience. Because that's baby bonding, like when your baby comes out, you're gonna be like, oh, well, of course you look like that. Because you will have like this image, you will know your baby from the inside out, from your meditations, from your breathing practices, from your connection, because visualization is powerful, even visualizing them in the womb, anything. I think any kind of exercise you can get going is going to be great during prenatal yoga. And I think it's important to remember that the body is changing during pregnancy. And we are different every single week. So something you did this week may not feel comfortable the next week. Lots of relaxing, lots of ligaments being loosened, and, getting ready for baby and stuff. So some really, really basic ones that I love for relief of back pain, relief of just, aches sometimes, upper body aches, whatever it is, as I love, and I'm going to adjust for just a minute.
Okay.
I love my cats and cows.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you a seated version of cats and cows because of the fact that so often we think we have to get on the floor and do all this. Well, when you're pregnant, like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not today. Not today. Not today. So my seated versions are a little more gentle, but at the same time, I feel like you can really get into things with seated versions because everyone thinks chair yoga is like, no, it's hard. When you're doing it right, when you're linking breath, when you're really in your muscles and stuff, you'll feel it. And so I always like to prompt the spreading the feet and pressing the toes down firmly into the ground. And then, just grounding your hands wherever they feel comfortable. And we can do the cows is what we call it. So that is when you pull your shoulders back, you stretch that belly forward and pull the back. So we can do this as far as we want to when we're pregnant.
Okay.
And then for our cat, which usually we would arch the back really, really heavily. I just realized my spine. We would arch the back really heavily, usually, really get into those shoulders and arm muscles. But when we're a little farther than, and this is, everyone's body is different. When we're a little farther than 3 to 5 months of pregnancy, we want to keep it neutral with the back. And so the exercise would put together look like this. Cow, big breath. And cat coming back to neutral. And so you still get this big, long cow with that stretch. And then if you'd like to, you can always arch it back for the cat. But depending on what stage of pregnancy you're in, it's always going to differ, right?
Right.
So that is a good one. That is a good one for relieving the aches and pains in the upper back and in the upper body, because we know carrying baby is going to be a lot. And we're going to feel like we want to stretch. And some days we're going to wake up and be like, this baby gained 1,000 pounds. So it feels good just to get that simple back and forth. And I encourage my ladies all the time. I encourage my mamas all the time to mix it up. So arch the side and big exhale there, whatever it is. The next one that I'm going to show you 3.
Okay.
Next one is going to be, you just take your palms again, press them into the ground. Into the tops of the thighs firmly. You can get where you want to with your lower body, spreading the hips far apart, sitting up and then sitting back down, lifting out the sit bones. And then just rotating. Big, big spirals. Incorporating our breath with it. And we can move with belly, baby, whatever feels good. And then when we're ready, we can go the opposite direction. And so feeling it in the upper back, feeling it move through the shoulders and then down into the hips. Just really incorporating that good big breath with it. And then one more, I'm going to go ahead and show you as we're seated here, is just, we're going to sit tall, take the palms out to the side and just spread them wide. And you can just spread out to the side.
I'm like, I don't have a lot of room here.
I'll demonstrate. You don't even have to. We're just going to inhale, big, big breath, reach. Reach those fingertips long and tall. And then the exhale, we're going to look forward or towards the ceiling. Letting our shoulders drop away from the ears. One more big breath. And we can press those side walls out to the sides. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Awesome.
Perfect. I'm like, I've got a desk over here.
I know. I'm like, we weren't ready, but it's okay. Just to show you, you can do it anywhere, right?
And I love that you have, I mean, this is great for, like you said, prenatal, but it also for w- any, well, I
People
mean,
who work in the office
sitting
all
at,
day.
yes, exactly. Sitting at a desk all day. I'm even thinking, because I work with women that have multiple sclerosis as well, and they might not be able to stand up as well for long periods of time. So even something like this for them is wonderful as well. So you're able to do it no matter your level. And I love how you incorporate not getting so stuck in, I feel like a lot of people try to perfect positions. So
It's not about that.
exactly, it's more about moving within your whole body and feeling what your body feels like, and trying to move into different positions so that you can get some release and some stretch. And I love that you did that, because like I mentioned, I think people get stuck in, like, let's go through the cat and cows and the breathing, and they're not realizing, like, just shifting the hips slightly can make that sensation feel completely different.
Like, I'm sure you felt it, right? I'm
Oh
sure you
yeah.
felt all of just the different activations of muscles and movements and ligaments that we were doing. I want people to realize that too. Yoga is so much more
Mhm.
than the warrior 1, 2 sun salutation. It's more than sequence.
Yes, yes.
So much.
And looks different on everyone.
With multiple sclerosis, that is a big deal for me.
Mhm.
The fact that my body looked different 10 years ago than it does now. And your body is going to look entirely different, maybe even next month.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm really about, and this is the entire accessible yoga movement, I'm really about letting people know, like, that's beautiful. Like, look at what, like, go you. Like, oh my gosh, like, look at all these different things that you can do. Like, there's lots of people who can't.
Well, and let's appreciate each phase that we are in life, rather than getting disappointed by something. If you're dealing with, maybe and I hate to bring this up because this is not something that I feel like we should focus on, but a lot of women, after having children, they feel like they need to lose the weight. But why not just appreciate the phase that we're in when we're in it, and work within that body?
And let me tell you something. As a birth doula, I have learned, and I think I had to learn this with my MS, because a long time ago, I started getting compliments when I started drastically losing weight with my MS. I was about 160 pounds when I was diagnosed with MS. And I lost it drastically. And I got lots and lots of compliments and lots of, oh my gosh, you're so skinny. And sometimes almost like in a sad way, like, oh, you don't look good because you're so skinny. It didn't matter. I was like, I am proud of myself. You all have no idea what we have been through in this body. So I love my body and I am grateful for my body. And just like I was mentioning seasons, when I go through the seasons of pregnancy, people are like, oh my God, you lost that weight so fast. You're so skinny. And I'm like, because I could have given an F less. I was busy breastfeeding and I was busy working on the side. And if that led to me losing weight, so be it. But you know what I did more than anything? I allowed for myself to be human and everything that I wanted to. And I feel like so many people struggle trying to fit a box or they want to be this or they want to be that. And that's okay to put on the side, but don't let that lose track of where you are in life.
Right.
What's really happening?
Okay. I feel like we have covered so much. Where did the time go?
No.
I want you to let everyone know where they can find you. I also know that you have created some products for those mamas with MS, correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that and then where we can find you and everything? And then your community.
Yes. So we'll start with the community. So my community, our community on Facebook is Multiple Sclerosis Mamas. And it is a private Facebook group of over 1,000 mamas strong, all living with MS. And we welcome doggy mamas, auntie mamas, has-been mamas, and to-be mamas. We just require that you're a woman, of course. And we just do a whole lot there. Like when it was created at the beginning of quarantine, I had no idea what it would turn into now, but it is a wellness program now. It is a clothing boutique now. It is a whole lot over here now. And you can always find us on Instagram and on Facebook as well. You can find our page at Multiple Sclerosis Mamas, and on Instagram at Multiple Sclerosis Mamas. To sign up for our upcoming live webinar, which is the 19th of May, our stress live webinar, secret tools, recommended exercises, and successful steps to that best MS Mama life. You can just go to msmamas.com, sign up there, and that actually is a straight link. When you sign up, it takes you straight to the Facebook group, and then it takes you straight to the store as well. It gives you options.
Okay.
So all you really need to remember is msmamas.com.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Oh my gosh. Of course. My pleasure anytime.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to our podcast. I hope that you found this information valuable, and I hope that you were able to immediately use some of the information that was provided. Make sure to go check out our show notes for all of the links that we discussed today. As a mom, I understand that at times you can feel alone and are looking for that sense of community. Here at FormFit, I am bringing moms together in a healthy and supportive community. I would love for you to come join us over in our free Facebook community that is FormFit Community. Join us over there where we can get to know you more, or feel free to try out our membership free for 7 days. It provides you with workouts, recipe guides, information on healthy hormones, healthy habits, posture information, accountability calls, and in-person and Zoom events. Plus, you can receive one-on-one training from me for 50% off. Find out all the information by going to formfitonline.com so that you can learn more. Now, go out and enjoy your day while practicing small, healthy choices that will make lasting changes.